Hello, my name is Tiffany Christina Lewis. I'm an author, teacher, and communications master. I've been teaching children and mentoring adults for 17 years. I have four college degrees. Two are in early childhood education, one is in business, and my other degree is in communication. My passion is really in communication. However, I learned the most about managing failure from my business. I'm going to talk to you guys today about how to manage your feelings about failure and how to use failure basically to help you all the time. First, I want to also say I have my little notes here. So if you see me kind of looking to the side, that's what I'm referencing. Nobody should go into a speech without notes. Um, Also, I'm working really hard to get my lighting right, so hopefully it doesn't distract from what I'm saying. So I want to start first by saying that the first thing that you have to do in order to manage failure is to stop thinking about it in a negative way. Failure is not bad, and I think that's always the first thing that kind of creates the negative feelings is that you automatically believe that if you fail, that is bad. Um, you have to start seeing failure as a part of life because it's unavoidable. Even as a baby, walking is a series of constant failures until you're able to execute the steps properly. Um, Falling and failing to walk properly is how your body and your mind learn to walk. So without that failure, you would never walk. Um, so the first thing automatically, do not feel like failure is bad. Do not try to avoid failure. It cannot be avoided. Trying to avoid things is how we apply that pressure to ourselves and create those negative feelings. Um, Additionally, don't worry about things that you don't have any power over. Failure is kind of like one of those things. If you've gone through and you plan something out completely and you feel that it's going to work and then you find that it doesn't, a lot of times those issues that you had were not in your power. Um, Worrying about those or being upset about those is trifling. It's not important. You just need to reevaluate and try again. So don't worry about things that you have no power over. Um, Next, if you see every failure as an opportunity, you will never be discouraged. Um, Failing is every time that you make a mistake or you fail, you should be, and I'm going to talk about this more in a little while, you should be evaluating those things. It's not, well, I failed, this is it. There's so much more. The world and the experience that you're trying to have is so much larger than your single failure. So you really, really, really have to see it as a new opportunity. And I know it can be hard because you may be on your fifth or sixth or seventh or eighth or 10th or 100th failure at something. And if you really feel passionate about the thing that you're trying to accomplish, it can be a big blow for you to fail at that. However, again, this is something I'm going to kind of discuss as we get further on. It's not the end, it's an opportunity. So you absolutely have to think of it that way. Stop thinking of failure as bad. Stop trying to avoid failure. Stop trying to deal with things that you have no power over, and think of failure as an opportunity. Failing is good because it actually points you in the right direction. You may discover that whatever you're trying to do, you can't do, you shouldn't do, or you don't even want to pursue that option. Failure is a way of opening our eyes, showing us the issues with whatever we're doing. So it's great. It's great. Lastly, on this note is what is actually bad. Failure is not bad, but what is actually bad is giving up without trying your hardest. A lot of times that's why we fail, because we didn't try our hardest. Failing is like just giving up too soon. Failing is like not properly planning things. Failure is choosing the wrong people to associate with your project. Not thinking things out all the way, not having your mind in the right place, having a negative mindset. Those things are failure. You have to try to eliminate those things. And the more you do that, the more likely you are to succeed or to be able to see failure as a non-issue. So, like I was saying earlier, using failure to help you learn is how you're going to best navigate that negativity. So the first thing is, you don't know everything. Let's start with that right away. You don't know everything about the world, about any kind of situation at all. Failure is sometimes a way of showing you what you need to learn. If you don't take that as an opportunity, that is also a failure. You have to see, again, once you can recognize that failure is not bad, you have to take a moment to see where your learning needs to begin. You can't learn anything if you think you know everything. And so, again, failure is just trying to point out those missteps, those things that you maybe have a knowledge gap. For instance, when I've opened numerous businesses in my life, and not all of them were successful for a lot of different reasons. I'm a very educated person and I love to learn. So I always researched what I wanted to do or what my business was about or how to open my business or marketing strategies or everything. However, my businesses, some of them failed on their own. Others of them I closed. And so watching my business fail every single time, there's an area, a gray area where I did not have knowledge. The first situation I can give you as an example was I opened a daycare. This was 2011 maybe. I opened a daycare and I did not get a business license, which was out of my area of knowledge. I began advertising my business and immediately the city asked me to stop providing service because I didn't have a business license. So I learned about my city and my state's business licensing laws at that point. And it was a failure because that seems like something very basic that I should have known. But without doing the proper research and proper planning, this is how I came to that failure. I did have to close my daycare for 3 months before I could start servicing more children again. So again, that's like because you didn't plan, because you didn't think of every single thing that could possibly go wrong. That's another thing about planning. If you avoiding failure does mean that you need to plan. If you just run into what you're trying to do without thinking, without planning, without researching, you're very likely to fail. There's so many resources out there that you can use in order to gain the knowledge that you need for whatever you're trying to do. There's people who know, there's the internet, there's tons and tons of things. So don't limit yourself to your own knowledge. I think that's the biggest thing that I'm trying to say. You don't know everything, and you need that. You need to know in order to go through without failure. Failure offers a chance for you to grow. Having a growth mentality is incredibly important when you are trying to get out of the box, trying to do things that you wouldn't normally do, or even just in your normal, natural life. Being willing and able to grow is how we move forward every single day. Every single day we're getting older, every single day we're learning something or getting wiser. And failure actually offers you that chance a little faster to grow and to learn something. So when you fail, again, it's a learning process. So you actually learn something that you wouldn't have learned otherwise when you fail. For instance, with my business, if my business had been a booming success and I had so many kids to take care of and I had to hire people to work with me, I would have never learned about the intricacies of the business world in my city at that time. And learning about that actually helped me open all of my other businesses as I move forward. So that helped me to grow as an entrepreneur. It also encouraged me to get my third degree, which was in business. I learned so many things about the process of business, about marketing, about public relationships, and even about communication, which again is the thing that I love to talk to people about the most. But by having my daycare close because of that misstep, I was able to learn so much about business locally as well as the world. So the other thing about using failure to learn is that this is when you have the best chance to learn. Of course, you can look, like I said, for tons and tons of information about what you're doing. You can make a strong plan. But that failure is like a thin sliver of what your knowledge base didn't have. Say, for instance, you go through, you make a huge plan, you get everything together, and then you have a misstep, you have a failure. That is showing you that little area that you need to know more about. And that's it. It's just your best chance to learn something is to actually try and to actually fail. Thomas Edison said, "I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that did not work." And that's how you have to see it. And that's how you have to use it to learn. The biggest thing that I'm going to talk to you guys about, the most important thing is absolutely embracing failure, using failure as a launch pad for gaining more knowledge, rewriting your plan, and moving forward with whatever you're trying to do. Getting into kind of a more dark, because I think so far I've basically just talked about how to use failure to continue what you're doing. But sometimes failure is telling us that we're not meant to do something. And I want that to be clear. Sometimes we can become a bull. We really, really want something and we're going to charge in no matter what. However, sometimes that's not what the world has for you. Sometimes what you're trying to do is bad for you. Sometimes what you're trying to do, you're just not ready to do. Sometimes you may want it so bad and it's just not something that you should do. The problem is that as humans, we do get stubborn in our thinking. And we feel that we should be able to do whatever we want at any time. However, like I said before, it's about learning. you may not be able to do what you're trying to do yet. And by constantly trying to force yourself into that position and constantly failing, this is what's wearing you down. You have to take a step back. You have to evaluate what you're trying to do. And is this really for me? This could be damaging you. This could be, the failure is a sign, maybe, that you do need to reevaluate whether or not this is healthy for you, whether or not this is what you're really meant for, or whether or not, again, that you need to be doing this. I opened another business, an earring shop, where I made earrings, handmade, and I sold them online. We also did some in-person events, and I sold my products to people at fairs and different things like that. And that business did not fail the same way as my daycare. This business was actually very prosperous. I was even able to hire a young lady to help me with my business. We did photo shoots, we did very, very intricate things to try to make the business work. We learned how to put it on search engines. We did our pricing. We had to, we failed at pricing first because we were pricing our items too low. We were getting washed out of the marketplace that we were using. Everyone was kind of like, how is your jewelry so cheap when everyone else's is so expensive? So we had to learn that lesson the hard way. We'd been selling our products for probably 5 times less than they were worth. My hard work, my acclimation of materials, everything was worth so much more. So we did eventually raise our prices, and that saw a lot of success for us. So we failed, we learned, we succeeded. However, early this year, I actually went ahead and closed that business because I discovered that we were just kind of doing like this. We're just moving along, but not making any growth. We weren't making any failure, but we also weren't making any growth. And I'm a growth-minded person. I always want to see myself and other people doing better and growing and learning. And we were getting nothing out of the business. The business wasn't growing. It was taking a lot of our personal time. And in that way, it had become a failure for us. Obviously not in the same sense that some of you may be thinking about, but for me, because of the standards that I have for my life and because of all the things I've already done, that was a failure for me. Doing something for over 8 hours a day that is only leaving me at a plateau and not helping me be better is not something that I want to do. And so we finally decided that we were going to close the business. And through that failure, what I learned was that I was not passionate about that business anymore. I was ready to do something else, do something that sparked me more. And so during that time, I was also writing. And I had 2 books out, and I don't know how I thought that I could handle both of those projects. They're both very time consuming, and I don't know how I even survived. But that is what I mean when I talk about maybe you don't need to do something. It was very heart-wrenching for us to decide to close the shop. We had so many loyal customers. We were making so many good connections. However, the shop was failing to make me feel fulfilled. I didn't feel passionate. It felt kind of like a job. You just kind of go because you have to, because my shop is open. I have to be there. I have to give products. I have to talk to customers. And yes, I loved it, But again, I wasn't growing. I wasn't learning. It was just a place marker for time taken from my day. And so again, my business was failing to fulfill me in that way. Um, so closing our shop was so sad. However, it has now put me in a position where I can talk to you because focusing more on my writing, finding my actual passion, just kind of planning and thinking about my books and the things that I want to do has brought me this kind of opportunity where I can actually talk to you about how I failed and how it's actually made me better. So to recap, always think about failure positively. Think of it as a way to learn, and think of whether or not what you're failing at is actually something that you don't need to be doing. Um, I know it's hard to stay encouraged when you feel like you really want something and it's actually not for you. But again, it's about keeping an open mind. It's about being positive as much as you can. Lean on other people to help you gain knowledge and support, and just work your plan as much as you can. When it comes down to that, don't. If you think failure is telling you not to do something, I'll use myself as an example again. Even though failure was telling me not to run that particular business, it wasn't telling me not to run business. I wasn't giving up on that aspect of my life. Those things, I love to operate businesses. I've probably ran 5 businesses since I was 21. And I've managed multiple businesses that I didn't own as well. So obviously business is something that I'm very passionate about. I'm not going to denounce my passion just because I failed to operate my earring company. I'm just going to put that energy into something else. And you can only do that if you believe that your failure is telling you something, not just telling you that you're not doing a good job. It's telling you so many other things. You have to open your ears, open your mind, open your heart to what failure is actually trying to tell you, and not just being sad about it. Failure needs to motivate you, basically, in a nutshell. Failing just means that you have another chance to try. We, as humans, we always get really excited when something new happens to us. A new love, a new business, even going to school. I know for me, because I love to learn, going to school again is very exciting to me. Having a new class, having a new chance to meet other academics, just new things. It affects our brain. It makes us giddy. It makes us excited. And actually, that's what failure does for you. If you look at it as a slowdown point and a restart point, it can be exhilarating to take that failure, learn from it, and then grow. You're going to have a new experience now. You're either going to start something completely new, or you're going to recharge what you were already working on and make it more successful by taking that failure, learning from it, and exploding your venture into something more exciting, restarting basically what you were doing, or again, starting something new. It also means that you're probably getting closer to succeeding. Again, no matter which direction you go, you could be closer to succeeding by failing. Either you're learning from it and changing your plan and making your plan stronger, or you're not doing what you failed at and trying something new. Again, it's not bad to fail, it's bad to not try. So once you've figured out that this project is maybe not for you, or this is not something that you need to keep spending your time on, the next step is to try something new. So either direction you go, you're closer to succeeding. It also means that you can you can just have a renewed feeling about yourself even. Um, Learning from failure, seeing where you could use improvement is always going to make you a better person. Even again, even if you fail and you have to drop that project, it's still better. You are still better because of that. You've still learned more about yourself, your strengths and your weaknesses. What kind of things can you take away from that? Um, Again, it's absolutely just about having the right mindset for failure. In the long run, if you do not see failure as a positive thing, you are not going to move forward. And that's all that I want for you is for you to be able to take whatever negative things you have in your life and use them as a propeller to push yourself um, towards better things. Albert Einstein said, failure really is just success in progress. As long as you stick to what you're trying to do, take those failures as learning lessons, you will always be moving towards success. Um, the only way that you move away from success is, again, by not trying your best and by closing your mind and your eyes and your heart and your ears to what failure is trying to tell you. So not trying things and having kind of a stubborn mentality is sometimes how we get into failure. Being willing to try many, many things, being open-minded, again, that's kind of like a theme of what I'm talking about, is so, so very important. This is how you stay trapped in whatever your life situation is. Being open-minded, being willing to learn, accepting failure as a learning experience is just how you break out of the situations that you're going through. Every single day, humans learn. Every single day. And learning and using your knowledge to assist you in whatever you're doing is the absolute most important thing you can do every single day. Failure, again, is just telling you that you need to learn more or you need to do more to make yourself successful. In conclusion, I just want to share that it is incredibly hard to fail. Some of my favorite authors have failed tremendously. Using writing as an example, most authors who want to get their books published, especially a long time ago, some of the classic authors of our times, took so long to get their books released that we may have never seen those books had they stopped trying to get their book released. For instance, one of my favorite authors, Stephen King, his first book is Carrie. That is the first book that he ever got published for all of us to enjoy. That book got rejected 40 times by different publishers. Some people would have quit after one time of trying to get their book published, but because he pushed and pushed and he learned, especially in writing, you learn whenever someone reads your work, they tell you what's wrong with it. If you open your mind to that, listen to that, you can change your writing for the better. because that is an improvement. At first, it sounds like, how can you be saying this thing about my work? I really wish you wouldn't. I really wish you loved it, and I really wish you wanted to publish it now. That's how it feels in your heart. But in your mind, you have to know that if someone is telling you that it's not right, it can only make you better to evaluate what they're saying. If someone is saying that your characters don't feel real, or that you didn't describe the world enough and I don't see where I'm at and I can't tell what this character looks like, that's what they feel when they read it. And so you should take that into consideration. Even if you don't make the change, that is an opportunity for you to learn, even if you're just learning what that person likes. So as we go on in whatever profession we do, in whatever we're doing, whatever our project is, whatever our life is giving us, those kind of responses from other people are very important. And so finally, Stephen King gets his book published, and it leads to all of what we know today of what he's done. And we don't always see those failures because some people don't talk about that negative part of their experience. Some people love to talk about how how failure has affected their journey. If you Google right now quotes about failure, you'll find tons and tons of things. So many geniuses of our times have been failures, have been talked about in a way that we would not believe they were talking about that person because they are amazing to us. So always, always, always remember that giving up is the ultimate failure. If you give up without trying, without taking failure as something to help you learn, without doing the absolute best that you can, without getting support, without opening your mind, that's the failure. As you're going through and as you're trying and trying and trying, just make sure that you're actually doing those things, that you're actually being open-minded, that you're actually learning from your mistakes, that you're actually being positive, and you're seeing your failure and those negative outcomes as areas of learning, areas of growth. Make sure that you're always looking to be your best and using the assets that you have to continue to learn, continue to grow. Life is absolutely all about failure. Running from failure is the reason that we have pain. If you do not attack failure with your strength, with your knowledge, with your passion, then it can eat you up. You have to know that you're bigger than a small fraction of this failure. Whatever you're failing at is so small compared to how much you are. And if you always have that learning mentality, that growth mentality, you will always be better than your failure. It's not until you shrink yourself into that small, scared position that failure is stronger than you. It's not stronger when it shows up. It's a very small seed of itself when it first shows up. How you respond to it is the difference between it being a giant and it continuing to just be a seed. You absolutely, absolutely have to stay strong. You have to stay strong. You have to learn, you have to grow, and you have to remember that failure is not bad. It's all very important. The more that you learn, the more that you fail, the better everything is going to be. I promise. I know it probably sounds like hard work, but I can say 100%, if I can't say anything else, I can say 100% that all my success came after failure. I can continue on with the stories of college. I can continue on with the business stories. I can continue on with personal life. So many relationships have failed. So many attempts at doing normal, natural things have failed. But again, keep a growth mindset, keep a learning mindset, keep your heart, your mind, your eyes open for those opportunities and those places where you can learn. And I promise you that you will be successful. Thank you very much for listening.